Honorable Senators, I would like to start by thanking all senators who have already spoken on Bill C-7. Each of you have compassionately contributed to this very difficult debate. I appreciate and commend your courage to share your own perspective and experience on MAID. I have learned a lot from you, and I sincerely thank you for your informative speeches. Honorable Senators, I also rise before you today to speak about a matter of life and death. I rise today to speak about medical assistance in dying at second reading. As we all know, Senators, this is a time of second reading when we reflect on the bill before it gets studied further in committee, and then we will have more time to debate this bill at third reading. MAID is literally a matter of life and death, of intolerable suffering and freedom from indignity and pain. The implementation of MAID regime, its safeguards, and most importantly, those it affects, is what this bill C-7 is studying. MAID affects our most vulnerable, our most sick, but MAID is not a treatment option, nor should be treated as such. It is intended as a last resort for people who are suffering from untreatable health conditions that are more often than not accompanied by severe suffering. It is for those like British Columbia's Julia Lamb, who perceives waiting to receive MAID as a large, and I'm quoting her, large and looming time frame to be under when suffering intolerably, close quotations. MAID provides a choice for them, a choice to die with dignity, a choice to end their untreatable, intolerable pain. However, it is the person's choice. It is my opinion that MAID must be strictly patient-initiated or person-initiated, and not a choice of a health professional or family-initiated. MAID is not supposed to or intended to push people over the edge. MAID is intended to elevate suffering, to empower people with choice over their lives in that way. Only one person can decide to consider it, and that is the person who is suffering. A patient-initiated choice would also help to avoid making patients feel like their lives are not valuable or that they have no hope of bettering the conditions of their illness. As was highlighted by Dr. Hurst and several others, it can be devastating for a patient if their treating physician initiates the conversation of MAID. Honorable Senators, in 2016, Canadians had chosen to incorporate MAID in our legal system. They have chosen power over their lives, and it is our duty to make sure that while we comply by making MAID accessible, we should ensure that we are not opening the door for many, indeed, the door for many to try and take the lives of others without a cause. As we think about how we protect individuals with disabilities, we are brought to other more marginalized groups, racialized, indigenous, and immigrant people, highlighted some of the various serious concerns regarding their access to basic physical and mental health services, let alone MAID, both in rural and urban or city environments. In all contexts, MAID should be regarded as a last resort. Prior to a patient being eligible for MAID review, they should have been afforded all available and adequate physical or mental health services to their illness. It is our responsibility as parliamentarians to ensure that the government is fulfilling the responsibilities of its sworn duty of care to all Canadians of all identities. MAID is never meant to be for disabled communities. What MAID is meant for is for a person who is suffering terrible pain, irredeemable pain. Only then would they be entitled to MAID. I understand the challenges that disabled people are feeling at this point, but there are many safeguards, and we will study them at the committee. Safeguards are another aspect of MAID that is of crucial importance and impact. MAID distinguishes between those whose death is reasonably foreseeable and those who are bound to continue a life of suffering with no foreseeable end. Like Julia Lamb, a fellow British Columbian, says in a written statement about a 90-day waiting period imposed on people whose death is not foreseeable, and I quote her, "If I choose MAID, the last days of life being not something of my choosing, and the drawn-out pain and suffering I may endure because it's determined as equal to those who are more timely in their matter of dying. A bill that is supposed to be a choice to end feeling trapped and hopeless in unbearable suffering instead may trap me within an excruciating 90-day waiting period. MAID safeguards also impose a final consent for those whose death is not foreseeable. And about that, Ms. Lam goes on to say, because my health is so compromised, there are several reasons why I might lose capacity and be denied my right to assisted death if I cannot waive final consent. After fighting for years for my rights, this now is a heartbreaking possibility. Honorable Senators, we have heard so much about Bill C-7 in the last few days, but I feel that we should also hear statements from Canadians who have undergone the experience of MAID. Senator Bowie mentioned a little bit about Miss Ruth Witheringbird. She writes, I am writing to you today with a plea to support Bill C-7 before the Senate regarding medically assisted death. My husband, Paul Jarman, was able to access a medically assisted death earlier this year. He had a 10-year challenge with bone cancer, but was able to maintain a quality of life that worked for both of us. He was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer earlier this fall and made the decision to end his life while he was able to maintain his dignity and his control. He passed away peacefully in his own home with me by his side. Senator Bowie mentioned other things that she said, so I will not repeat that today. I want to share with you another letter that Miss Penny Mills has written to me. She says that since the case of Sue Rodriguez, 2 other cases have come to the Supreme Court and won, Gloria Taylor and Skay Carter. And she goes on to say, and these are her words, Sue Rodriguez asked, if I don't own my body, who does? If I don't own my body, who does? Most of the safeguards for MAID have very little for people with ALS. With ALS, we lose muscles, a bit at a time. I have a rare variant of ALS, and my muscles seem to be turning for pudding, whereas other ALS patients become paralyzed. Our throaty muscles cause us to choke on our saliva, lose the ability to speak and swallow. Our legs lose muscles a bit at a time. Also our feet, a thumb, a finger, a hand, in no particular order. We need a cane, we need a walker, we need a wheelchair, then a power wheelchair. If you live long enough, you may be able to blink your eyes. I want to stress that every person's progression is different. That is why you can't just put us into long-term care home and expect a satisfactory situation. It won't be safe, especially we've learned from COVID-19. She goes on to say, one suggestion is to wait 10 days. That means people like me, Sue, Gloria, Kay, have to suffer being immobile, unable to eat for 10 days. To our talk, 10 more days. I've known for 6 years I wanted medical assistance in dying. Hardly a snap decision. Senators, I don't know, but when I know, I'll go. As Sue Rodriguez said, and I remind you, if it's not my body, whose body is it? What I'm concerned about is that we can't speak or write for ourselves, but are denied MAID or advance directives. That is so cruel. I wonder how many people would prefer death to being warehoused. What is the difference between them and do not resuscitate? She goes on to say, people with ALS are in danger in care homes and hospitals because so few medical workers know much about ALS. When I was in hospital with a broken hip, some doctors came to see me. I was such a novelty. ALS is so rare. I guess that's why the amendments are so important. A nurse nearly broke my knee trying to straighten my leg that was in spasm. Another one nearly killed me, making me drink water while I was in a choking fit. Honorable Senators, she goes on for a while, and she's saying, it is my body, give me choice, and let me die when the time is right. Honorable Senators, one of my final points is on final consent. Dr. Stephanie Green, President of the Canadian Association of MAID Assessors and Providers, who has been providing MAID for more than 4 years in Canada, brought this to our attention. A 2019 survey of MAID providers suggested that 85% of providers have personally experienced the situation of walking into a room to facilitate MAID only to find the patient no more able to provide final consent due to unexpected loss of capacity. Dr. Green goes on to say, and I quote, I can tell you from first-hand experience how horrible that situation is. Loved ones standing by beg for the clinician to proceed. It is agonizing for all, and I'm unable to appreciate who exactly is being protected by not proceeding with the previously planned MAID. I am absolutely clear on who is being harmed. Close quotations. Honorable Senators, doctors don't take their duty of care. Doctors take their duty to provide care very seriously. over the entire process of the pre-study, not once did we hear a doctor say that they believed anyone should carry out MAID.
Senator Jaffer, I'm sorry to interrupt.
5 minutes? May I have 5 minutes?
Is leave granted? Yes. Go ahead, Senator
Thank you.
Jaffer.
Thank you, senators. Thank you very much. Sorry, I've lost my... Over the entire process, doctors take their duty to provide care very seriously. Over the entire process of the pre-study, not once did we hear a doctor say that they believed anyone should carry out MAID without careful and conscientious consideration of its impact. Dr. Green goes on to say that she knows of not one person, not one doctor who has profound compassionate healthcare issues has been prosecuted for not carrying out MAID. That is a choice of the doctor. Honorable senators, all of you that know me know that I'm a practicing Muslim and I carry my faith on my sleeve. You hear of me talking about my Muslim faith many times. But in 2016, I came to a decision that I am a practicing Muslim and I am a parliamentarian as well. As a practicing Muslim, I will do what is right under my faith. But as a parliamentarian, I have to listen to Canadians carefully, and I have to make the decision of what Canadians want, and I cannot bring my faith into that decision because I have the honor to be a senator, and as a senator, I have to listen to Canadians and serve Canadians. Thank you very much, senators.
Senator Jaffer, will you take a question?
Yes, certainly.
Senator Bovey.
Thank you, and thank you, Your Honor, and thank you, Senator Jaffer. And I was being anonymous about a letter we obviously both got, and I did speak to my good friend Ruth Rittenberg last night. And as you all know, I lived in Victoria for many years. And my knowledge of this issue goes back to the 1980s when Dr. Scott Wallace was a member of the British Columbia Provincial Legislature, and he was my doctor. And he was a very good friend of Sue Rodriguez. And so these were discussions that we had on a philosophical basis back then. And after I moved back to Winnipeg, I was visiting an art collector who went to Switzerland in, I can't remember whether it was 2014, 2015, to get the medically assisted dying because Canada wasn't in that place yet. Senator Jaffer, my question is that many of these issues have been, that you discussed, the timing, the disabled community, other issues that I'm very conflicted on in this bill. I'm having trouble with aspects of it, I'll be really honest. But with your knowledge legally and with your knowledge, having been in this chamber for the 2016 debate and all, the issues we're discussing today, are they new to the debate that I remember going back to the 1980s and 1990s and the early 2000s when I wasn't a parliamentarian? I was just me as a Canadian taking in these issues. Are they different now than they were then?
So some of the issues are not different. Some of them are the same, I believe, because they're very you can see from my voice, they have very gut-wrenching issues. I can't sleep at night. Am I making the right decisions? As each and every one of you, we are all struggling, and we have to put our own feelings aside and listen to the pain of the people who are telling us. So for me, one of the safeguards we had put was the 10 days. And now we are hearing from the communities that 10-day is a death sentence. When I have decided, so many have said to me, so many have phoned my office, say, you don't decide when I die. when I make the choice. That's not your choice. Let me make that decision. The same with the 90-day. And Senator, just so I may have in my nervousness forgotten to say this, but I had permission from both Penny Mills and Ruth Witherington to read their letters. But Senators, I'm saying to you that this is probably the most important thing that you and I are going to decide. And all we can do...
Senator Jaffer, your time has expired. Are you asking for another 5 minutes?
No, just one word. All we can do is listen to the people. Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
We have someone else who would like to ask a question. Would you like to ask for 5 more minutes?
May I have 5 more minutes, please?
Is leave granted? I will have to interrupt you in about 1 minute because of the leave at 6. So if it can be quick and you can do this before 6, otherwise it's going to have to be at 7.
Try my best.
It is 6.
All right, it is 6 o'clock, so we will postpone it to 7. So resuming questions. So Senator Whetstone, you had a question for Senator Jaffer?
Yes, I did. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Senator Jaffer. Obviously, this bill is emotionally draining for many of us, if not all of us, and I'm most appreciative of your heartfelt comments. And I'm just going to ask you a very simple question, if I may, and I don't mean to be rhetorical in the question that I'm asking. But do you believe that Bill C-7 will have the overall effect of pressuring or encouraging or inviting people to pursue death, if possible? Or is it giving those same people a choice at the appropriate time for them to die with dignity that they may not have at present?
Senator Weston, I struggle with this every day. And if I told you, looked you in the eye and told you that I don't believe that some people will be pressured, I would be lying. I think some will be. And that's where we come into place, and we have to make sure that there are enough safeguards so that people are not pressured. But it will also give those who have been waiting for such a long time the ability to die with dignity. So we are providing a pathway for people to die with dignity, but we also have to make sure that there are sufficient resources like palliative care, access to proper medical care, so that the people are not forced. That is also our duty. But Senator Weston, that's something I struggle with every day.
Supplementary?
Thank you very much.
Senator Whetstone? No, thank you. Are you good?
No, thank you, Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Cordy, you had a question for Senator Jaffer?
Yes, if she'll take it. Thank you very much, Speaker. Senator Jaffer, will you take a question?
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much. And I think a number of us were touched by your speech and could certainly identify with it. And practicing Catholic, and my religion's very important to me. I certainly understand what you're saying. It's a struggle. It's really a challenge. And you spoke about your religion, an important part of who you are, but being a politician. And we represent Canadians. 82% of Canadians believe that they should be able to make advance requests for MAID. 85% believe that a person's request for MAID should be respected if they've been assessed and approved for assisted dying, but lose their capacity to consent prior to the planned date. Those numbers to me were astounding, shocking, but they are the people that we all represent. And you asked the question, what's the difference between do not resuscitate and MAID? I'm wondering also, what is the difference when people, and we all have heard of people who refuse to eat or refuse to take water, and basically they are committing suicide is what they're doing. So what is the difference between those things and medical assistance in dying?
Senator Cordy, I was your seatmate in 2016, and both of us struggled. You remember the terrible struggles we had, and we still have them. And, that's the question people are asking, the one you're putting across. Those were not my words. They were Penny Mills' words. What's the difference? And so that's the challenge, that we accept one, do not reciprocate, sorry, that word, and sorry, I apologize, and made. But, so that's what people who want the choice are asking, what's the difference? And that's something we as parliamentarians have to look in the eye and say, what are we doing? Are we going to provide?
I apologize for interrupting. Your time has expired. Would you ask for an extra 5 minutes? You have other questions?
May I ask for another 5 minutes, please?
Is leave granted, colleagues? It is. Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Senators. So that's the challenge, Senator Cordy, and you and I both struggled with this before. And, I just believe that we as parliamentarians, if we are going to provide death with dignity, we also have to face those questions that you asked.
One of the things that we can't forget, and which I sometimes forget and was reminded of when Senator Harder spoke and you spoke, is that we're not revisiting this whole decision again, because medical assistance in dying is legal now. And I think even my question to you today basically was talking about C-14, and I think that's what many people are confusing. Medical assistance in dying in Canada is legal. In 2020, we're just looking at making changes to it. Would that not be correct?
So I see it as a progression. As we learn more, as Canadians are saying, yeah, you brought in MAID, but then you've put all these things in place that cause us a lot of pain and suffering. We are revisiting those issues, and that's what we are doing. Plus, if you're Senator Cordy, you remember the struggles we had and wanted foreseeable death not to be the only option. That's what's in place now, what we struggled with in 2016. And so I believe it's a progression.
Thank you very much.
Senatrice Bellemare.
Senator Bellemare. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Senator Jaffer.
For a question? You accept another question?
Yes, absolutely.
I will take you on another area. I think I understand that we have a bill in front of us that is quite complex but narrow at the same time compared to C-14. Also, we have a situation where we adopt C-14, some dispositions are now known to be unconstitutional. And C-7 is to balance, to make it constitutional. So my question to you is that, I hear all sorts of things. My question to you is the following. In the future, because I think it's not the first time now that we will struggle with this issue, because it's life and death and it's complex. And I think I am of the idea that we have to go step by step. But eventually we may have, after a review of the bill, we may have to consider many issues. And do you think that we will be able in Canada to have the same kind of disposition all over the country?
Senator, that's such a difficult question, because we are a large country, and that's what's become very obvious with our pre-study, is the terrible situation for Aboriginal Indigenous peoples, the terrible situation in rural areas. And that's why I believe, and the most profound speech made by Senator Meiji on palliative care. And I believe that with this, hand in hand, we have to say to the government, we have to put observations in place that this doesn't go by itself. With this, you have to put proper palliative care. We have to make possible that we have the same sort of service across Canada. And I think that's something that's been raised time and again in the pre-study and before. And I think that this goes hand in hand. When we tell the government, if we do, that we accept this, we have to say, this is only part of it. We hold you liable for the other things that people were saying.
Thank you.
Senatrice Méville-Deschênes.
Senator Miville-Deschênes.
Mobina Jaffer, thank you very much for your speech. I would say that we know, and we all know, that some people will be pushed towards MAID, and we have to try to prevent them. But how can we censor, since this is all in the provincial realms, since palliative care, since social services are not, we have power on them. So, and this is my own struggle, not having enough services and opening up MAID. So I want to hear you on that. And I know there's no easy answer.
No, there is no.
Your time has expired again. Would you ask for another 5 minutes? Leave is not granted. I'm sorry, Senator.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator.